Okay, sorry about that. My computer wanted to kick me out, so we're back. So with that, we will go ahead. Welcome everyone to the January 19th Sherwood School Board meeting. The meeting is called to order.
Madam Chair.
Whoops, yes.
Oh, sorry, just to call to order. So I would like to make a motion that we amend the existing agenda to add an action item under item number 4. This action item would be entitled Changes to the 21-2022 calendar. I'd like to make that action item A and then remember the existing items to B and C.
Okay, and I don't believe we have to take a vote on that. I think we can just go ahead and add that to the agenda. So that is noted and added to the action items. So with that, we've done the call to order. We've added the action item. Public comment. This meeting was a little bit different. We all received public comment this afternoon. So all of the board members, I believe, had a chance to read and review the 5 public comments that we received. Just as a summary, 2 were related to some concerns with COVID and staying open and staff and instruction. 1 was a concern over the district calendar for 22, 23, 23, and 24. 1 was regarding EdBook, and another was a group that would like to do business with the Sherwood School District. So again, that is kind of a summary of the public comment. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to information and discussion. And I will turn the mic over to Mr. Rose to talk about our audit review.
Thank you, Chair Hecker. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Cordy. Each year, the district creates an annual financial report that then is audited by our partners at Polly Rogers and Company. The board packet includes that report for this year, and tonight, Tiffany Elverum, manager at Polly Rogers, is here to give you a report orally on what is in that communication, as well as to answer any questions that might come up. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany. Tiffany, thank you again for being here tonight.
Thanks, Jim. So yes, thank you for having me. I'm Tiffany Elverum from Polly Rogers. So I'll be presenting the 2021 audit report for the district. So I'll be going over the governing body letter, which summarizes the audit report as a whole. So on page 1 of the board letter, we discuss the purpose of the audit. For the district, we focus on performing a financial statement audit, a compliance audit required by Oregon minimum standards, and a compliance audit for federal awards. On page 2 of the board letter, we discuss the results of the audit. The district had an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, meaning we gave a clean opinion. For the state minimum standards, we found no exceptions, except noted on page 42 of the report. For federal awards, we found no issues or no question cost, and also no separate management letter was issued. In the significant audit findings section, for corrected and uncorrected misstatements, we found none, and then all were discussed with management. And then overall, the audit went very well and smooth, and that's due to all the hard work from Phil and everybody at the business office. And so does anybody have any questions regarding the audit report?
Chair, I don't have a question for the folks from Tiffany and the folks from Polly Rogers, but I just want to acknowledge that our staff does a ton of work that goes into this audit and not only reduces our costs associated with the audit, but really does a huge service in making sure that our district's finances are kept in well stead. That saves us money on bonding and borrowing costs, and really is one of our major accountabilities to voters is to use funds wisely. And so I just really want to acknowledge Phil and his team who do an outstanding job on our behalf.
Absolutely agreed. And thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining us tonight, and for a great audit to the whole group. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All righty. Okay, so it looks like with that, we can go ahead and move on to Mr. Emmer and the 2022, 23 and 23, 24 district calendars.
Thank you, Board Chair Hecker. Good evening, Superintendent Cordy, Board of Directors. Each year, the district's administration creates new academic calendars for the following years. Dates of importance reflect contractual commitments, state and federal guidelines, student and staff needs, and Oregon University System calendar dates. At the board's request, we create calendars for the next 2 school years to provide time for community and our employees to plan. As we develop the calendar drafts, we gather feedback from OSEA, SEA, the board of directors, and school and district administrators. And in all of those groups, we have community parents, Sherwood community parents. Considerations as we build the calendar are things such as meeting state instructional requirements. In these 2 calendars, the ones that were attached to the board document tonight, you can see that these 2 years require us to start prior to Labor Day and then keep seniors into graduation week in order to meet instructional requirements. Considering natural breaks in the calendar to end trimesters or student academic weeks, preserving as many uninterrupted weeks as possible, balancing trimester lengths as much as possible, considering historical data regarding low attendance days or weeks. For instance, we typically do not bring students to school during Thanksgiving week because so many Sherwood families travel that week. Strategically placing early release days. In addition, we stay within the SEA collective bargaining agreement parameters, keeping the 190 full contract days, 175 class or conference days, 5 paid holidays, and then professional development. We pay attention to key dates such as what the first days of school look like, when and when they will be, and what they will look like. As I said, the first 2 days in these 2 calendars are the 2 days prior to Labor Day weekend. We keep holiday weeks intact as much as possible. We follow the Oregon University system for spring break. Sherwood High School graduation remains the same Friday as we've used in past years so that families can plan in advance. Those have all been things that we've heard are important to the community over the years. We balanced the 3 trimesters as well as we could, attaching the grading days to weekends. So this evening, the board is receiving the 2022-23 and 23-24 district calendar drafts for first read and 30-day review. Any questions?
Fantastic. Thank you. So it looks like it's still you, Mr. Emmer, on to staff care and retention.
Okay, thank you again. Tonight, we want to share some information regarding what's happening in education really across the state of Oregon and in Sherwood. The Oregon Education Association recently wrote an article titled Education at a Breaking Point. And the article describes trends in education across the state of Oregon. Trends such as educators being unable to complete their work within their contract day, educators experiencing extreme levels of stress, which is affecting their health, educators considering leaving the profession, and extreme staffing and substitute shortages. Although some of these are not new challenges in education, we've seen some of them for many years, the challenges have definitely increased, and it seems as if the pandemic has brought all kinds of new needs to our students and our staff, and there just are insufficient resources to address many of those needs. We continue to hear exhaustion and frustration coming from our educators. In spite of their fatigue, however, they continue to strive every single day to provide a quality education for our students. It's been a pleasure to be out in buildings more over the last few weeks and just to see really the magic that happens every single day in those classrooms in spite of people's fatigue. In December, we shared the heartbreaking staff survey from SEA, which really we now recognize mirrors trends across the state. And we've realized that now is the time we need to make some changes and to really take care of our staff and to keep as many as we can in this profession. I can say as an educator, there's no greater calling. There's no profession I would have rather been in, I would have rather chosen. And my hope is that we are able to keep people doing this work. Tonight, I want to take the opportunity to talk specifically about the staff care and retention strategies that we plan to implement the remainder of this year. And then the final strategy is a proposal that has been added as an action item to this board agenda. As we shared in the December board meeting, we didn't receive a large amount of ESSER dollars as many of the districts around us did. And so we've tried to think very creatively, looking for strategies that will honor our staff, but at the same time will be fiscally responsible. So please allow me to share those strategies. Until now, we've not been able to hire our classified employees at the rate of pay they were at when they retired due to the language in our collective bargaining agreement. And so we recently drafted an MOU and are working with OSEA to allow us to hire our classified retirees back at the rate of pay they were at when they retired, hoping to entice them back into the workforce. One of the positions that's the most difficult to fill and retain our staff is our special education instructional assistant position. It's not only a taxing position that requires a special skill set. Up to this point, it's paid the same as our other instructional assistant positions. Not that they're not all hard work. All of these people work hard. This is a position that simply requires a special skill set. We created an MOU that will allow us to pay these SPED IAs who work with our most highly impacted students in LIFT and skills programs, $2 more an hour beginning in the February pay period. Other positions that have been a challenge to fill are custodial positions, especially swing shift. To be more competitive in our pay, we've created an MOU which will allow us to increase the pay for swing shift custodians by $2 an hour, hoping that that shift will be more attractive. You've heard us speak to the challenge of finding substitutes this year. One result of the sub shortage is that teachers, instructional assistants, coaches, counselors, people across the district have subbed fairly regularly to fill unfilled positions. At the secondary level, what that might look like is that a teacher subs during the teacher's prep period every single day. Meaning there is no prep period during the contract day. They take that prep work home every night and likely every weekend. Although, it's one way to address the need, and some of that has always happened and some of that likely will continue. We're expanding the language so that we can better compensate teachers for that time. As they've always been, they'll be paid for the time covering during their prep period, but we've expanded the language so that in a case where there might be enough room, like in a PE class, one teacher could absorb another class so that there would be 2 classes in the gym and then that teacher would be compensated for that time. So it's just a little bit more creative approach to some of the work that we've been doing in the past. Teachers have needed to spend extra time preparing materials for students in quarantine, increasing their already heavy workload. Hoping that we'll see case rates drop, we decided to postpone the work happening in CLTs through the month of January and to resume in February, allowing teachers to catch up from the recent COVID outbreak and support students who are in quarantine and isolation better. In addition, with the change from a 10-day to a 5-day quarantine, we found that teachers would find, especially at the elementary level, that students were ready to come back from quarantine about the time they were getting the work they needed. And so we have made a change so that during a 5-day quarantine, teachers can push out asynchronous work just to keep students caught up and engaged. If the quarantine lasts for longer than 5 days, then teachers would provide more substantial work for the kids during their quarantine period. In December, you also heard us speak about much of the work that is happening on early release days and in professional development. To free up some of the time for employees beginning in February, the large group CLTs that we've been doing this year will happen every other week. And in those opposite weeks, teachers will be able to meet in their smaller grade level teams so that the work is maybe doesn't feel so daunting. So we're actually slowing down a bit the work that we set out to do this year. Professional development during CLT time will be kept to a minimum to allow teachers as much time as possible to collaborate with their colleagues. Knowing we're understaffed in our custodial department, a few of our teachers have stated that they would be potentially interested in coming in for a few hours on Saturdays and cleaning like the gym, for instance. And we agreed that we would pay them custodial step 3 rate for any teachers who would be interested in doing that. I'm not sure how often that will happen, and they would need to coordinate with Ken Bell, but we want to make sure that we offer that for anybody who's interested. As a way to create additional prep time for teachers, we decided to limit staff meetings to 1 per month in all of our buildings and to be consistent across the district. Another way to free up some time for our teachers and our administrators will be to roll this evaluation cycle into 2022-23 for all of our certified contract teachers. Our probationary teachers still are on an annual cycle so that we're following ORS 342835. It's the law states that they need to be evaluated every year. Our contract teachers typically are evaluated every other year, or at least their evaluations are spread out over 2 years. And in this case, we'll add 1 year to that cycle. We created a district office substitute calendar to provide additional coverage for support for buildings with district office staff serving as substitutes. And that's been happening across the district over the last few weeks. We're working with ESS, which is the organization we contract with for substitutes, trying to find 10 secondary and 4 elementary substitutes who would commit to Sherwood every day for the remainder of the year. And they would be paid at the higher sub rate that long-term subs typically are paid. And in addition to that, if they'll sub each month that they'll sub every day, they'll receive a $100 bonus at the conclusion of the month. So far we have 3 and we're just a couple of days in. So we're making a bit of progress. As a way to increase our recruiting capability, we'll provide a recruitment bonus to all of our district employees of $250 if the person they bring in, the referred employee, is employed by the district for a minimum of 90 days. And then if that person stays for a full calendar year, the person who found that referred employee will receive another $250 bonus. This is something we've done in our transportation department for years, and it's been somewhat effective. And so we're thinking at this time, you know, we're going to think of every creative solution we can to try to increase our workforce. And then finally, as many districts around us have done, we're proposing the addition of 2 employee wellness days to the calendar. The first one would be February 18th. That's President's Day weekend. And so for our community and staff, it would turn that into a 4-day weekend. The 18th is a Friday. The second one would be April 29th. And that's also a Friday, and that would create a 3-day weekend in that long stretch between spring break and the end of the year. And that is the item that the board will need to take action on tonight. Our hope is that we'll be able to share these strategies with our employees as soon as possible, just to bring, I think, some hope and some relief to them. Any questions?
Thank you. Any comments? Krista, did you, Director Thorne?
Yeah, I want to reiterate how thankful I am, and I'm sure the rest of the board is, for all the work that you've done to put this together. As I mentioned before, you know, our staff and our teachers, they need to feel taken care of and feel heard. And I love that the district is doing everything that they can to listen to them and to meet their needs. So thank you for putting all of that together.
Awesome. Yeah, I would like to thank you as well, the entire team, and just really want to share the fact that there's so much going on behind the scenes. I know we all want to help. We all feel a bit helpless at times because we can't help the teachers. We're not in the schools for, you know, all of these things are going on. But I think it's really important that people understand that everyone is pitching in this district, that teachers are giving up their prep periods to sub and other classes, that district folks, including all of you on executive team, are back teaching and making lunches and cleaning and doing whatever needs to be done to help kids and keep them in school and educate them ultimately. And the amount of help and collaboration between everyone in the district to miraculously, to be honest, absolutely miraculous right now that we are able to stay open and weather this storm together. And I just can't thank all of you enough, you know, because we just know that in person is optimal if we can do it appropriately and safely. And so I just really want to stress how important it is and how we all feel that, you know, we need to do something, and that some of these wellness days to give a little reprieve to everyone that is just working. I mean, the word overtime doesn't cover it. Above and beyond for kids is just really appreciated. So thank you so much for putting this together and giving us as a board an opportunity to do something other than an abbreviated meeting to help. So we appreciate that. So thank you. Any other comments?
Director Hecker, I would like to make a motion to recommend that the 2021-2022 district calendar changes include those wellness days on Friday the 18th and Friday the 29th. These will be non-student contact days, resulting in no school on those days.
Okay, perfect. We are on to the action items. That works great. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take the vote. So everybody take a second to get off mute. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oops, I'll unmute. Anyone opposed? I didn't hear anyone, so the motion will carry 5-0. So thank you everyone on the board. And if the staff could make those appropriate adjustments to the 21-22 calendar, it would be appreciated. So
I just want to add one more thing. Sorry.
Yep, you may.
Because I have so much gratitude right now for the teachers and the staff and everything that they're doing to keep kids in school. You know, we're really lucky in Sherwood to have the staff that we do. And, you know, there's a lot of districts around us have gone online. We haven't, and that is because of the work and the commitment that the staff has to our kids. And it's just, I think every parent in Sherwood owes a lot of gratitude to these teachers, because we are grateful. We are grateful for everything that you're doing, and it's not going unnoticed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to action item, what is now B, the adoption of the 22-23, 23-24 district calendar first read. Mr. Emmert.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your support. I know it's going to mean just so much to our staff. So this evening, the board received the 22-23 and 23-24 district calendar drafts for first read and review, and the district will present the final drafts for second read and adoption at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Questions?
Okay. Doesn't look like we have any questions. So we'll move on to item number C, interdistrict transfers, and I will turn the mic over to Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Chair Hecker. As you all probably recall, in December, we took the budgetary strategy of opening slots for inter-district transfers. So these are transfers between other districts and Sherwood, to allow up to 5 kids at each grade level at Middleton. That was done on a lottery basis with the timeline that closed. We had 2 students in the kindergarten level that their parents chose to take that opportunity to apply. Tonight, we come back to you with a request that we continue this budget strategy and open the remaining slots Again, at Middleton, K through 5, the remaining 3 at kindergarten, and then still 5 at each of the other grade levels. And open these until filled. And again, these are for the 21-22 school year. These are not open slots beyond that. Any student that does become a district student through this process during this school year will be eligible to stay here through the end of graduation, the end of 12th grade, providing they meet certain criteria related to behavior and attendance. With that, I would ask the board to approve that inter-district transfers.
Madam,
Okay, any questions, or do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we take the recommended action. I would go through it all, but Mr. Rose has done such a great job. I'll just go with what's on the paper.
Yeah, that's about 2 paragraphs, so go for it if you like. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been seconded, so we'll unmute. All those in favor to take the recommended board action, say aye.
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 Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, I don't hear any nays, so the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. So with that, we're coming to the close of what I hope is one of one in our abbreviated meetings. I appreciate everybody's willingness to streamline this so that we can keep the good work going and move along and stay in school for kids. So the next meeting of the board, hopefully again, will be in person and back to the district office will be on February 9th. So we will see you then. Thanks so much. And the meeting is now adjourned.